On today's show, the New Zealand government gives the go-ahead for nationwide EV incentives to get Kiwis plugging in. We get some hints at just how much the Ford F150 Lightning will actually cost. And Lordstown spends all week contradicting itself. These stories and more coming next. This is Ecotricity's ECOTEC roundup show from New Zealand's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to electric vehicles in New Zealand. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Welcome back to another roundup in the world of clean cars and green energy. Thank you for joining me. We start today, where else, with the fantastic news that the New Zealand government has begun a new discount program for citizens wanting to get behind the wheel of an EV. And most importantly, it's a discount that applies to new and used electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids. Due to take effect this July, anyone buying an EV worth less than 80,000 Kiwi dollars will be eligible for the discount of up to $8,625 off their purchase. It comes in the form of a government rebate. Even if you're buying used, even if you're importing from overseas, you could still stand to save as much as 3,450 Kiwi dollars off your car's asking price. With EV charging now every 75 clicks along most highways, there's never been a better time to plug in. So check out our buying guide to help you pick your next car. You'll find it at ecotricity.co.nz. US customers are happy after the official launch of the Volkswagen ID.4 all-wheel drive Pro, Volkswagen's more powerful all-wheel drive variant of the ID.4 electric SUV. If you've just watched our published review of the ID.4 from earlier this week, you'll know that I found the rear-wheel drive ID.4 First Edition a little lacking in performance. We'll link to the review below. But the ID.4 all-wheel drive Pro has a much more respectable 220 kilowatts of power for its size, reducing the sprint time to 5.6 seconds and giving it improved towing capabilities, although its range does drop slightly, starting from $43,675 before incentives and mandatory fees. It's super affordable and should sell really well. Tesla's network of supercharger stations is the most comprehensive EV charging network in the world, and it's the envy of many charging networks, which is perhaps why the German Minister of Transport is currently trying to convince Tesla to open up its supercharger network to owners of non-Teslas. Obviously, Tesla has always offered to make its supercharger technology available to rivals through quid pro quo arrangements, but it appears in this case Germany wants customers to be able to pay Tesla directly. You might think there's a standards issue, but it's mainly in software, since thanks to European law, all Teslas in the EU use the CCS charging standard rather than the proprietary Tesla inlet found in other markets. This is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on, and when we hear more, we'll share. It's official, the Honda Clarity is no more. Announced by Honda this week, the full-size sedan, originally available as a hydrogen fuel cell, plug-in hybrid, or fully electric model, will no longer be sold. That is hardly a surprise given each variant's poor sales. Indeed, the all-electric model ended sales a while ago, but the same week Honda announced it aims to only sell electric vehicles in the US from 2040, an announcement that seems at odds with the Clarity's cancellation. Its future plan? To start introducing new electric vehicles for the 2024 model year, so 2 years from now. In the interim, I'm guessing Honda will be forced to heavily rely on buying zero-emission vehicle credits from Tesla and other automakers in order to avoid any heavy fines. But since Honda and GM have partnered on several projects recently, I think it might be GM rather than Tesla that benefits from Honda's lack of EV offerings. Last winter, an unusually cold and brutal winter storm caused chaos in the state of Texas, leaving people without power for many, many days because the state's power stations were not properly engineered to function in cold weather. ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, yes, Texas has its own electrical grid, blamed the power cuts on lots of things except its own lack of preparation, including renewable energy generation methods, and now it's at it again, but this time in the height of summer. This week, the Lone Star State has been battling massive heat waves, and again, many of its power stations have been shut down for safety reasons. This not only means the cost of electricity has soared in the state, but expect more bizarre excuses to be given as Texas tries hard to ensure that fossil fuels are the only way electricity can be generated. For now, it's just asking residents to stop using as much electricity as they normally do to keep brownouts to a minimum. Volvo's performance arm Polestar has been rolling out its Polestar 2 electric car in many markets around the world this year, and also happened to end production of the Polestar 1, the only plug-in hybrid vehicle likely to ever wear the Polestar badge. And this week it announced a new model due to come to market, the Polestar 3. Now, obviously, because the car hasn't been revealed yet, what you're seeing here is B-roll of the Polestar 1 and Polestar 2, both of which are made in China. But when it comes to Polestar 3, the brand says that it will be produced in the US for the US market. An SUV, the Polestar 3 will be produced alongside Volvo models at Volvo's production centre in Ridgeville, South Carolina, next year. There'll be a debut likely as a 2023 model year car. In the last couple of shows, we've been detailing the pressure being exerted on big oil companies by lobbyists, activists, and shareholders alike, all eager to force the most polluting industries to finally clean up their act. This week, it's the turn of Delta Airlines, which held its annual shareholder meeting this week. During that meeting, a shareholder proposal to force Delta to become more transparent about its climate lobbying practices won a majority vote. The proposal, filed by BNP Paribas Asset Management, will require Delta's board of directors to issue a report outlining if and how the company's lobbying activities align with the Paris Climate Agreement. A similar vote last year only received a 46% approval, showing that pressure to act appropriately to anthropogenic climate change is receiving far more support than it once did. It's about time. Ever since the Ford F150 Lightning was revealed earlier this year, we've been waiting eagerly for more details on pricing for the various trim and spec options available. This week, we got the first hint of that, thanks to a leaked price list that's been doing the rounds on the internet. The price list appears to come from an initial customer survey Ford sent out to some reservation holders, and we can't say for sure that this is final pricing, but it's very illuminating. For example, the XLT variant, the first non-commercial variant, starts from just under $53,000 with a standard range pack. Opting for a longer range pack adds $7,000, which, yes, is less than the nearly $90,000 of the range-topping model, but that's still a hefty price and more than a gasoline F150 sells for. Then again, how many gasoline F150s can run your home in a power cut? I'm super excited to see how this sells against the competition. Leave your predictions below. Earlier this year, Audi announced it was ceasing all development of new internal combustion engines for its lineup of vehicles, something that we were all very pleased to hear. But this week it went one step further, confirming that it's begun a complete phase-out of internal combustion engine vehicles. Its goal, the company says, is to cease selling all diesel and gasoline-burning vehicles from 2026 onwards. This means the brand will become 100% electric. Given that Audi is one of Volkswagen's premium sports brands, it makes total sense that it is going electric, since there's very little way that it can continue to meet emission standards while retaining its performance reputation. I'm super curious to see what the future brings for the brand. Last week, Lordstown Motors said it didn't have enough money to bring its endurance pickup truck to market, and on Monday its CEO and CFO left, along with heavy golden parachutes and $1,200 an hour salaries for the replacement for the CFO. And that's how the week in which Lordstown contradicted itself began, stating first that it had enough confirmed orders to account for both this year and next year's planned production run, and then later submitting a filing to the SEC which stated no, it had no confirmed orders. Based on the discussions we've had with people in the know, it is starting to look like the new executives brought in on a temporary basis might be there not to assist in saving the company per se, but to help it move on gracefully. One of the cool things about planet Earth is the fact that when it's summer in the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere, and vice versa. And for automakers wanting to get some extra winter testing during Northern Hemisphere summers, there is no better place to head than New Zealand. Which is why this week we learned that Rivian has sent its R1T and R1S electric pickup and electric SUV, as well as its Amazon delivery vehicle, all the way to New Zealand's southern proving grounds to do some final testing before deliveries of the R1T and R1S begin this July and August. It's fairly common to see automakers do this, but hey, if you're out on the Kiwi roads heading for some winter fun in the mountains, keep your eyes peeled for Rivians in the wild. And finally, There has been an ongoing spat between Tesla fans, and some Ford executives over whose vehicles are best. And frankly, I am no longer interested in who started it. It's getting old. And this week, Ford CEO Jim Farley floated the idea that the Ford Mustang 1400 race car should drag race the recently launched Tesla Model S Plaid. The implication, I think, from Farley is that he thinks the 7-motor race car would beat the Tesla. But come on, Jim. The Mustang 1400 is a one-off custom-built race car, not a production car. I'm all for friendly competition, and I know some of you won't believe me saying this, but this is not great optics because the playing field is not even. Now the F150 Lightning against the Tesla Cybertruck. That's a race I'd be up for seeing. And on that note, we are done for the day. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next episode. And if you haven't already switched, please do consider switching to New Zealand's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company. It is so simple to make the switch, and when you do, you'll be helping New Zealand wean itself off dirty energy and onto clean, green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. I'll be back soon with more great videos for you to all enjoy, but until then, I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Ka kite! See you next time.